It's Sunday, November 3rd, 2018. This is All About Your Benjamins and your weekly mixtape and weekend review video. Let's get right to it. It's been a busy week. Spent Monday and Tuesday out in Los Angeles to visit the Altruist Company and record a podcast for their Human Advisor podcast. So be on the lookout for that coming out hopefully in the next month or so. Got back and naturally we had Halloween, and Halloween is special in our household because Silas turned 2 years old. So we went trick-or-treating, and if you are reading the All About Your Benjamins weekly mixtape, if you go down to the bottom, you'll see the boys in their costume. We had Marshmallow, Emmett from the Lego movie, and then we had a baby Grinch with Silas. So a very busy week. A lot of articles I want to get through real quick. I'm going to try not to spend too much time on each of the individual ones, but want to hit on a few things. We're going to start with the Fed. So the first headline that may or may not be impacting your financial plan and portfolios is the Federal Reserve cut rates one more time. So we cut another 0.25% off the main rate. And this was a unanimous decision. 8 of the 10 committee members decided. The other 2 that did not. The dissenters wanted to keep things as is. And we've talked about a lot over the last year that not only is the action important, but also what are the comments. And the comments were that they're looking to hold rates as they are unless they see something very negative in the economy. And as we're going to get to in here in a second, there's a lot of good economic news right now that we're seeing in the headlines. But it always seems like when we have these good economic headlines, within the next couple of weeks there's some scare in the markets. So we'll see if that trend continues. But Fed cut rates, gonna hold. We'll see what happens in December. As I mentioned, a lot of good economic news. The next few all kind of flow into each other. So in the third quarter, the U.S. GDP growth was 1.9%. So not a high rate of growth, but also was still trudging along and moving forward, which is a positive. And a lot of things were contributing to that, one of them being jobs. We had a higher than expected jobs number this month, or I guess last month. So that was a positive. The unemployment actually ticked up to about 3.6%, which is still very low. There were a lot of new people entering the market for jobs, which is kind of what caused that to happen. So you've got to remember that the number that is quoted for unemployment takes out the people that have just kind of given up. So if people are optimistic, they're seeing wages holding steady and they're seeing friends and family members being employed, they might come back to the market and try to find a new job. So the jobs number is very good. Wages are holding steady, which is a very positive number as well. Earnings, so we're wrapping up, or we wrapped up earnings season, and 75% of the S&P 500 companies that reported all did better than expected on their earnings. The average, just to give you a benchmark, is around 72%. So not a super high number, but also a little bit above average, which is a positive thing. So the companies in the U.S. are seeing good numbers. A lot of them raised expectations for the upcoming quarter, which is a positive sign as well. So you take the growth, even though it's a little slower than we would love, still moving along. You take the unemployment numbers, you take the wages numbers, you take better than expected earnings. That's a lot of good news for the U.S. economy, even though the global economy still looks to be slow. So all positive news when it comes to the economy as of right now. I'm sure we can dig in and find some negative things out there as well. Going back to the consumer, that plays a big part of all this. Consumer spending is still doing real well. Business spending has been slowing. You'll see in one of the articles that talks about business spending and reinvesting back in the company has slowed down some, but the consumer picked up the weight, and there's been bigger ticket items, buying cars, houses, those things that are making up for that spend in the GDP. So right now the consumer looks good. Consumer makes up about 70% of our GDP spending, so we want to make sure that consumers are doing well because that's going to help drive the economy, or a very big part of the economy's drive. Switching away from the economy, 2 things real quick, sports related. The NCAA came out following California's suit that they are going to allow athletes in colleges to be compensated for the likeness of their names or their personalities on games and other things. So this is the first time that athletes are going to be able to get paid in college, and it's going to be tied to, you think about the games, you go play NCAA game, whatever, 2020, there's going to be the teams with the numbers and players that look like the players on the court but don't have their name. Well, now they're going to be able to be compensated for that likeness. What does it mean? How does it all play out? I don't know. I didn't spend a lot of time there, but it is kind of cool to see that athletes are going to be getting a little bit of a piece of this big business that is the NCAA and college sports. So that, I think, is a positive. One thing I hope a part of this is that schools are required to do some financial literacy and education to these athletes. So we know what happens when athletes go sometimes to the pros and mishandle their money. Granted, it won't be millions of dollars like professional athletes do, but these college athletes get a little bit of money. Hopefully we can give them some education to be smart with that money and not waste away this new opportunity they're going to have. And finally, we're not baseball fans here. Soccer and basketball is what we love, but the World Series was wrapped up this past week and the Washington Nationals won the World Series. So that is the big excitement from the sports world. NBA is kicking off, so we're excited for that here. We still have some Premier League soccer, so that's what we'll be watching over the next couple of months. That's it for this week's Week in Review. Be sure to head over to allaboutyourbenjamins.com if you're watching this on YouTube or listening to this on your Amazon device to read this week's mixtape. I missed last week due to some travel and some sports, but this week I made up for a lot of great posts, a lot of great articles to read to support this video. And you'll notice this week there's no tweet of the week. I'm giving up social media for the month of November, along with some other things I'll be writing about. So if you are used to seeing me on Twitter or active on social media, the only thing I'm going to be doing is posting blog posts from a third-party site called Buffer to get content out to my channels, but I will not be participating on Twitter this month. So I will see you all back in December. But if you're wondering where I'm at, that's where I'm at. I'm okay, just getting a break from there and being a little bit more present and focusing on some other things right now. So thanks for watching. Be sure to hit the mixtape, read all the blog posts this week. There's a lot of great ones, and I will see you all in the next episode.